Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a E-Verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to Cloud Test Lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
So we have a synchronized keyword in Java, right? When we synchronize a code, Java ensures that only a single thread can execute the block of code at the same time. So we talked about the locking concept in Java, right? So what we do, there is a virtual lock. It's not a physical lock. It's a concept. We have a virtual lock. So every object has only one lock, and when the thread enters the synchronized block, it takes the lock with it. It has to have the lock to enter the synchronized block. So when one thread enters, it takes the lock and it keeps the lock with it until it is completely done with the synchronized code. When it is done with the synchronized code, it releases the lock. Then some other threads can take the lock and then enter the synchronized block of code. Right? So this would ensure that only one thread can enter the synchronized method at the same time. Folks, is that clear? The locking concept and the synchronized keyword?
Neha, can I interrupt you for a second? Yes. The example that you gave before about the joint account, isn't that a database level lock? How do you differentiate between database? Usually when...
See, database lock is only when you are accessing the same record, right? It's not about the database. You have already, let's say, the balance that is already acquired, and you have cast the balance, and two threads are going to simultaneously do it, right? See, the joint account, when someone is checking the balance, you don't want to make a database lock, right? You don't want to do it.
Since you are working with that particular account, yes, so it is linked to that particular record, right?
See, we don't do the database lock.
I know, but I'm trying to differentiate how thread, how is that, how you can explain thread is, what kind of process it is.
See, we explicit, a thread in Java is basically, we create a thread. We create a thread object and we want to span multiple threads simultaneously, right? So I have an application, right? I mean, when there are multiple people that want to access their account, when you go to ADM, right? Like multiple people access the same system, right? So we don't want to say one of the others. So it is done using multi-threading. Okay?
Is that a piece of code that you can assign to this thread? Is that what it is? Eventually?
Yes. Okay. Yes, exactly. When we create a thread, we say with this thread, I want to achieve this.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Now you understand, right? When we are creating a thread, it's not that it does everything in a separate thread. When we configure a pooling, nothing of that sort. When we are creating a thread, we explicitly say, this is what I want to achieve with this thread.
Okay.
I want to calculate this with this thread, or I want to do a specific thing with this thread. That's what we define a thread for in Java. Or we create a thread for it. Folks, clear on the synchronized keyword and the lock? When we make a method as synchronized or a block as synchronized, only one thread can enter the block at a time. When one thread enters the synchronized block or a method, the other thread has to wait until it is completely done with the synchronized method or a synchronized block. So there is a concept of locking in Java. It's a virtual lock, and each object has a lock. So when the thread has to enter the synchronized method or a block, it has to attain the lock of the object, and it keeps the lock with it until it's completely done with the method. So the other threads, when they try to enter it, they don't have the lock and they cannot enter the synchronized lock. When the first thread releases the lock, the other thread acquires the lock and it can enter the synchronized method or a block. And folks, there is a keyword volatile. Volatile can be applied for instance variables. We can use the volatile keyword only for variables. And what's the purpose of a volatile keyword? If there is some kind of a variable that gets modified every now and then, let's say the temperature, right? So we make it as a volatile because when we do that, any thread that accesses the variable or that reads the field, it sees the most recently returned value. It does not say if it has some cache, it doesn't look at it. It fetches the most recently returned value. And there is no locking that happens with the volatile keyword. Making for variables, there is no lock that happens with it. Lock is applied to a synchronized method or a synchronized block. So for out on the synchronized and volatile.
Neha, if you don't create a thread, by default, Java will run or whatever process happens, that is treated as a thread, right?
See, if you're not creating our own threads in Java, how the Java program runs, right? How threads are spanned, we don't take care of it. The JVM takes care of it.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we don't do that, scheduling in the Java code. We don't do that. But when we want the code, some part of the code for better performance, right? Some things when we want to span multiple threads across, we create our own threads. So how do we create our own threads? We have two different ways of creating a thread. So see, when I say a thread in Java, okay, it is an instance of the java.lang.thread. Okay, so there are two ways of creating a thread. One, you can create a thread by extending the thread class. Okay, and we can create an object by implementing the runnable interface. So there are two ways of creating a thread. So see, even the thread class, it implements the runnable interface. So let's say the first way, we are extending the thread class, right? When we extend the thread class, we override the behavior of the run method. So I don't know, it's Lydia, or you are asking something. What do we do with the thread? What do we exactly want to achieve with the thread? That particular piece of code, we keep it in the run method. Folks, multithreading is very, very important, and you really have to pay attention to understand these concepts. When we want to create a thread, the first way of creating a thread is we create a class by extending the thread class, and we provide the behavior in the run method. So what do we exactly want to achieve with this thread? So here I want to calculate the sum of first and natural numbers with this thread. Okay? Let's say I want to create the sum of first 9 natural numbers with this thread. So that particular piece of code, we put it in the run method. So there are two ways of creating a thread. One is by extending the thread class, and the other is by implementing the runnable interface. So we are seeing the first way of creating a thread by extending the thread class. So we created a class by extending the thread class, and we provided the behavior in the run method. So whatever we exactly want to achieve with this thread, we keep the code in the run method. So when the thread gets started, first, when we want to start the thread or run the thread, we have to first create the thread object. Any object we want to create, we use the new keyword. So we create the thread object first. So when we just created the thread object and we have not invoked the start method on the thread is said to be in the new state. When we created the thread object, but we haven't yet invoked the start method on the thread is said to be in the new state. When we call the start method on the thread, when I say thread.start, right, it comes to runnable state. What do I mean by runnable? Meaning that the thread is eligible to run. When you say t.start, it comes to the runnable state, which means it is eligible to run. But it is not running. There is difference between runnable and running code. Let me tell you this example. See, when students complete their graduation, right, they are eligible to work. Right? When they are done with their graduation, they are eligible to work. But it doesn't mean they are working, right? They have to go to an interview, they have to clear it, and some company has to offer them job. Then they will be working, right? There is a difference between eligible to work and working, right? Same way, runnable means the thread will be eligible to run, but it is not running. When the thread scheduler fixes it, there is a thread scheduler that runs as part of the JVM and we don't control it. When the thread scheduler fixes it, it comes to the running state. From there, it can optionally go to sleep or wait state. And when it is done with the sleep or wait, it again comes back to the runnable state. And when the thread scheduler fixes it, it goes to running state. And when the code inside the run method completes, the thread goes to the dead state. So if you see, folks, first when we just created the thread object, we just saw in the code, right? When we just create the thread object, the thread is set to be in the new state. And when we start the thread, it comes to the runnable. And from the runnable, when the thread scheduler fixes, it goes to the running state. So if it is waiting for an object, right? If it is awaiting a lock, it goes to the waiting state and then it comes back to runnable. And for example, if we say a sleep, right? It goes to sleep here, and when the interval expires, it again comes back to the runnable. And when the thread completes the task, so what is the task for the thread? The code inside the run method is the task for the thread. When it completes the run method, the code inside the run method gets completed, it comes to the terminated or dead state. So folks, this is what we call it as the life cycle of the thread or different thread states. When we just created the thread object, but we haven't yet invoked the start method on the thread is set to be in the new state. When we start the thread, it is in the runnable. When the thread scheduler fixes the thread, it comes to the running state. From there, it can optionally go to wait or sleep state. So when it is done with the wait, when it gets a lock, it comes back to runnable. And when we say sleep for let's say 30 milliseconds or 20 milliseconds, when it is done with the sleep, it again comes back to the runnable. And when the thread scheduler fixes it, it comes to running. And when the code inside the run method gets completed. So when the thread completes its task, what is the task for it? The code inside the run method. It comes to the terminated or dead state. So folks, any doubts on the different thread states or the life cycle of the thread? Yes.
Can you explain the awaiting log state?
Let's say when a thread wants to enter a synchronized context, right?
Yeah.
It has to attain the lock of it, right? When it doesn't get the lock, it is in the wait state.
Okay.
See, when the thread wants to enter,
it itself goes to sleep.
Not sleep, wait state.
Okay, waiting state.
Okay, sleep, we have a method sleep to make the thread go to sleep.
Okay, and the thread goes to sleep only when we call the thread dot sleep specifically, right? there are no other scenarios in which the JVM automatically puts the thread to sleep.
No, sleep we call. I mean, when we call the sleep method in the code, it is when the thread goes to sleep.
Okay.
Neha, in real time, where do we use mostly in real time applications?
So we use them in finance domain a lot. Finance domain, threads are used a lot. Like, because especially in capital markets, like the futures, options, and the capital markets, the threads are used a lot. Like, see, you create multiple threads, right? For example, someone is buying a stock, and at the same time they want to see the stock. I mean, another price of the stock, right? And let's say before they buy, they just want to check it. Before they place an order, let's say I want to buy it for $400. They again want to check. So there will be one thread running to get the price of the stock, and there will be one thread running to place the order that you are placing, right?
Okay.
So in that, I mean, threads are used a lot in finance domain. I mean, it's not that we don't use it in other domains. I mean, it's from the business perspective wherein you want to, like, there is a chance of you want to have, like, very fast responses doing multiple actions at the same time. We use threads.
Okay.
Neha, where do you declare the start?
Here,
Yes. What is the start?
start method is used to start the threads. There is a start method that is present in the thread class, and it is used to start the threads.
Yeah, this is Pratik here. Any code which is in the main method, not in the run method, that the thread won't be bothered.
Sorry, could you please be a little bit loud and repeat your question?
Yeah. What I'm saying is any code which is written in the main method, not in the run method, so that thread won't be bothered once it finishes.
No, see, when we start the thread, we are not calling the run method, right? Are we calling the run method? No, right? So when we start the thread, it internally calls the run method of it. See, we have not called the run method in our code, right?
Yeah.
But when we start the thread, what the thread does, what is the task for the thread? To execute the run method is a task for the thread.
Yeah. So it won't be bothering about the other code in the
See, if we are writing any other code in the program, we can write it, but they are run in parallel. When we started, they can span across, and and they get executed spanning across, right? Some code might get executed, and the run method gets executed. They span across.
So Neha, this thread scheduler picks is all internal Java. I mean,
Yes, the JVM does it. We don't handle it. It's done as part of the JVM does it. The thread scheduler is part of the JVM, and we don't do that. We don't control it even. We cannot control it on which thread gets picked. We cannot control it. I mean, when it comes to thread, we cannot say this thread gets executed first or this second. There is very little that is guaranteed when it comes to thread. More of the decision that is taken by the thread scheduler. Folks, any doubts?
Neha, one more doubt. So, any code written after t.start will be executed by a different thread, not by thread 1, right? That the key object.
See, no, it is not executed by thread object. By default, we have the main thread. Let's say, folks, I mean, we can get the thread name, right? Let's say, thread dot current thread is like what is the thread that is getting executed, and there is a method get name to get the name of the thread. Okay, so I can give a name of the thread. See, when I create a thread object, I can give a name for it. Let's say I'm saying t dot set name of, for this thread I'm giving thread 1 as my name. Okay. So here I'm printing something. Here I'm saying current thread name. So I have told in the beginning, when we run a program, there is like some thread with name main, right? So when I say the same thing, thread dot current thread, it returns to the current thread which is executing this code, the current thread object. And if you want to get name of thread, you use the get name method. So when I run this code, you see the current thread in main. So I have started the thread first, but this statement has executed before that. You see in the console, folks, and then it executed the run method. And if you see the code in the main method, right, it is executed by, there is one thread that gets created by default, and it is the main thread, right? That is the main thread. But here the run method is getting executed by thread 1. You see it?
Okay.
They have methods set name and get name to set the name for the thread and to get the name of the thread. We have set name and get name methods. We see it here, right? Here I can just name it as thread 1119. That is the name what gets printed when I say the get name. We have set name and get name to set the name for a thread or to get the name of the thread. Name of the thread.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a limit for the threads, Neha? Is there a limit? Is there a limit for number of threads that we can create?
I mean, there is no specific limit that it says, but if we unnecessarily go ahead and create the threads, it might go out of memory because we are creating multiple threads and spanning it across, right? The JVM might run out of memory, but there is no specific limit which explicitly the JVM or the Java people specify that we can run only 100 threads, only 1000 threads. There is no limit that is specified. There is no number that is specified as the limit.
Okay.
So folks, and the second way that we can create a thread is by implementing the runnable interface. Okay, let me take out this code so that you understand it better. So folks, what am I trying to do it here? See, this is the second way of creating a thread. We are creating a class by implementing the runnable interface. So folks, when we implement an interface, we have to provide the behavior for the abstract method in the interface, right? For all the methods, because all the methods in an interface are by default public and abstract. So I'm providing behavior for the run method. So what am I doing in the run method? I'm iterating from 1 to 5 and I'm printing 1 to 5, and along with the print statement of I with the numbers, I'm printing the current thread also. Why am I doing that? To understand that which I want to see which thread is exactly running, right? That is the reason I have given the specific thread name. Okay, so I'm creating one more class, say test runnable example. So I want to test how the runnable are getting executed. Let's say I'm doing this. So here I'm going to create the thread object here. So folks, when I want to create a thread, right?
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website h2kinfosys.com. On our website h2kinfosys.com, You will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.